I now reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education at 6 p.m. with Bridge, Cruz, Na, Schaffer, and Gagnier present. Before we begin, please silence all electronic devices and note that these proceedings are being recorded. The board met in closed session from 5 p.m. to 5:22 p.m. regarding the following: 2 student discipline matters and conference with labor negotiators, ACT and CSEA. No action was taken that requires public disclosure. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Mr. Schaffer.
Please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now begin this evening with item 1C, a presentation. Tonight's presentation is about the essential standards and smarter balanced assessment results. We'll be hearing from Dr. Grace Park. Dr. Park.
President Gagnier, members of the board, Superintendent Enfield, Cabinet, and community. Our update to the board this evening is on the progress of our students' academic progress before the pandemic, leading up to their performance on the California Smarter Balanced Assessment from last spring. In California, there are defined standards that describe what students should be able to do at each grade level and in each course. However, while this is promising, Marzano, our leading educational researcher, found that in order just to cover all of the state standards, we would have to change our current K-12 system to a K-22 program. As a result, there have been 3 national studies that have shown that the unintended outcome for this is that there's a wide variation of what is taught between class to class and from course to course across schools, because there are too many standards that is viable to teach and for students to learn. To address the need for all students to have access to a guaranteed and viable curriculum, we had teacher teams from across the school district come together to establish grade level and course level essential standards. Essential standards do not represent everything that we teach, but at the minimum represent what we want all students, no matter what school they are at, will learn at high levels. We use the REAL criteria to arrive at 10 to 12 essential standards for every grade level and for each course to ensure that we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum for all of our students. The teacher teams examined all of the state standards for every grade level and for every course and used this criteria in this level of importance to arrive at the 10 to 12 essential standards, with E representing that the standard was important beyond the test because it was associated with an important life skill. L, this particular standard was valuable across more than one discipline. R, readiness, this standard was a prerequisite standard that was necessary for success in a next level of sequence of class or in another grade level. And finally, the last criteria they looked at was to see if this standard was highly assessed on a high-stakes exam, such as the ACT, SAT, Advanced Placement Test, and/or the California Balanced Summative Test. Here's a development of our work to gauge student learning. In 1819, our teacher teams established the essential standards for every grade level and course, and that spring, our students also took the Smarter Balanced Assessment. 1920 was our first full year of the implementation of our essential standards, and teacher teams created a companion essential standards assessment just to gauge student learning around those essential standards. In March of 2020 that year, students across the state shifted to distance learning, and state assessments were paused due to the pandemic. 2021, we started the school year on distance learning, yet we continued our focus around those essential standards, and we also administered the essential standards assessments. During spring of 2021, the state allowed us to use local assessments, provided they met a certain criteria in lieu of the state's Smarter Balanced Assessment. Last year, the 21-22 school year marks our first full year to in-person instruction. We continue to focus on our essential standards and also administer the ESAs in the spring. And it was also the first year since 2019 our students took the state California Smarter Balanced Assessment. In the next part of our assessment, Dr. Freed, our Director of Assessment and Instructional Technology, will be walking us through the progress of our students on the Essential Standards assessments, along with the Smarter Balanced Assessment through these years.
Here is a snapshot of our Chino Valley Unified student achievement in English Language Arts over the last 4 years. The data shown is from 2 different types of assessments, the Essential Standards Assessments, or ESAs, and the Smarter Balance Assessments, or SBAs. Our Essential Standards Assessments are the local assessments, as Dr. Park mentioned. While our ESAs are administered 3 times a year, one in fall, winter, and spring, for the purpose of this comparison, we will only look at ESA number 3 data over 3 consecutive years. The percentages shown are the percent of students scoring met or exceeded by grade level on the Smarter Balance Assessments and the Essential Standards Assessment number 3, which is taken annually in the spring. The first column shows each grade level. Column 2 shows the percent of students scoring met or exceeded on the 2018-19 Smarter Balanced Assessments at the tested grade levels, grades 3 through 8 and 11. The next column shows ESA number 3 data for the 2019-2020 school year, in which students attended in person through March. The next column shows ESA number 3 achievement for the 2020-2021 school year, where we were primarily on distance learning. The fifth column shows ESA number 3 data for the 2021-2022 school year, in which students attended in person and received the additional 30 minutes of instruction. The final column displays the Smarter Balance Assessment data from the 21-22 school year, again only at the tested grade levels, grades 3 through 8 and 11. In looking at the data, keep in mind that while ESAs assess each of the grade or course level essential standards, the Smarter Balance assessments assess a greater breadth of the standards. There are several different ways in which we can analyze the data. First, we can look at the achievement of a cohort of students over a 2-year span on the ESAs. We would look down the third column, labeled 1920, and then over to the fifth column, labeled 2122. For example, if we were looking at the group of students who were in kindergarten in 1920, that same group of students would be in grade 2 in 2122. So in 1920, 57.7% of the students scored met or exceeded on ESA number 3. 2 years later, including distance learning and the additional 30 minutes, we had 61.9% of our students scoring met or exceeded on the grade 2 ESA 3, demonstrating an increase. When we look at analyzing the data in this way, 7 of 11 of our cohorts increased over the 2-year span. A second way we can analyze the data is by looking at a 1-year cohort growth on ESA 3. We would start in the fourth column, labeled 2020, 2021, and then move 1 row down and 1 column over to that same group of students in 2021, 2022. In 2020-2021, all students in grades 3 through 12 took the ESAs through distance learning, whereas K2 students took the ESAs upon their return to campus. Let's look at grade 4. In 2020-2021, 53.9% of students scored met or exceeded on ESA 3. And the following year, when that same group of students were 5th graders, they scored 65.2% met or exceeded on ESA 3, demonstrating an increase. In examining those grade 3 students in 2019-2020, they started at 60% met or exceeded. They did drop the next year in 4th grade in 2020-2021. The following year in 21-22, they made gains and ended at 65.2% met or exceeded. In analyzing the data in this way, examining student achievement with the additional 30 minutes of instruction, 7 of our 11 of our cohorts increased over 1 year. A third way we can analyze the data is by comparing our 21-22 ESA 3 to our 21-22 Smarter Balanced Assessments. This would be looking at our 5th and 6th columns. This is the same group of students in the same year. We will look at 3rd grade for our example. On the 21-22 ESA 3, there were 55.4% of students scoring met or exceeded. That same group of students, just a couple of months later, took the Smarter Balanced Assessments and scored 57.2%, showing an increase. Additionally, let's look at grade 11. On the 21-22 ESA 3, 59.8% of our students scored met or exceeded, and similarly, that same group of students scored 57.6% met or exceeded on the Smarter Balanced Assessment. When we examine ESA data in the same year, we can see that there's a strong correlation between our Essential Standards assessments and how students score on the state summative assessments. As a reminder, the Smarter Balanced Assessments cover more standards than is what is covered on the ESAs. This is the same type of data we examined in English Language Arts, but now the focus is on math. Our math data tells a bit of a different story in terms of student achievement, but there are 2 things worth noting. The first is that math standards are different than ELA standards, and that ELA, there is a spiraling of the same standards over the years, meaning that as students continue on through each grade level, they will see similar standards. With math, as students enter into each grade level, the skills they are learning are often unique to that grade level and are prerequisites for higher levels of learning. Secondly, we will only do a 2-year cohort comparison up to grade 5, because beginning at grade 7, students are on one of 2 different paths for math, either an on-grade level or an accelerated math path. In 2019-2020, and then with that same group of students, 2 years later in 21-22, when in person plus 30 minutes, we had 2 out of 6 cohorts show increases. For the 1-year comparison on ESA 3 in 2020-2021 to ESA 3 in 21-22, with the in-person plus 30 minutes, we had 3 out of our 7 cohorts show increases. In analyzing the ESA 3 from 21 and 22 and the 21-22 Smarter Balanced Assessments, all but 1 grade level showed declines. Despite the declines, we see that there is a connection between how our students perform on the ESAs and how they perform on the Smarter Balanced Assessments. This chart represents CVUSD student achievement from the Smarter Balanced Assessments in the years 2019 and 2022. In English Language Arts, there was a slight gain of 0.77%. In math, there was a minimal decrease of less than 2%. Despite all of the challenge our students and community faced during these years, we have been able to mitigate the learning loss. Interestingly, in examining student achievement over time, we have discovered that focusing on a limited number of the essential standards at depth has significant impact and connection on how students perform on the Smarter Balanced Assessments, which covers more standards. The purpose of our essential standards assessments were to determine how well our students learn the essential standards for their course or grade level. ESA 1 provides a baseline, ESA 2 is a mid-year check, and ESA 3 is a checkpoint near the end of the school year. The unintended outcome that we discovered was that these ESAs serve as a strong predictor of how well students will score on the Smarter Balanced Assessments. The ESAs were developed by teacher teams with the assistance of a psychometrician at Illuminate. On this chart, we see a correlation between our ESA assessments and the Smarter Balanced Assessments for each ESA at each state-tested grade level. Statistically speaking, anything with a correlation of 0.7 or greater is considered to have a good correlation. All of our ELA assessments are highly correlated to the Smarter Balanced Assessments. Here are the correlations between the ESAs and Smarter Balanced Assessments for math. As with English Language Arts, the math ESAs are also administered 3 times a year. As you can see in math, there is also a high correlation between these assessments. We recognize that there was some work to be done at grade 11 math, and those assessments have already been addressed at our most recent ESA review in September.
As we reflect on the progress of our students over time, here are some key takeaways. Of all of the unified school districts in San Bernardino County, Chino Valley ranks #1 with the greatest achievement gain in English Language Arts and the smallest decrease in math on last year's Smarter Balanced Assessment. The county average of unified school districts in English Language Arts reflects a decrease of 8% in English Language Arts. In math, the decrease ranged from 3 upward to 14%. As part of our continuous cycle of improvement, we also benchmark high-performing school districts, which include Walnut, San Marino, Corona Norco, Placentia Yorba Linda, Garden Grove, Irvine, and among few others. When we take a look at our benchmark districts that are high performing, they showed a decrease from 1 to 6% in English Language Arts, while Chino Valley had an increase of close to 1% in English Language Arts. In math, our high-performing benchmark districts reflected a decrease that ranged from 4 upward to 13% in math. Chino Valley had a decrease of a little less than 2% in math. There are a number of factors that shaped student learning during the years. However, in our analysis, there are 3 distinguishing factors that set CVUSD apart from our county schools, along with our high-performing school districts that help to minimize that loss during that pandemic. They include our strong and strategic focus on our essential standards, the work of our professional learning communities where teacher teams came together to have greater clarity over those essential standards, analyze student learning around the essential standards, and also come up with a game plan to ensure that more students were learning these essential standards at higher levels. And finally, the 30 minutes added to the instructional day for all students last year for additional time and support is a final factor that sets CVUSD apart, not only from county schools, but also from our benchmark high-performing schools. While we are excited about the work that our students, their families, and our incredible staff did to commit to student learning, we're also greatly looking forward to our continued opportunities to ensure that more students have greater access to our guaranteed and viable curriculum through these essential standards and increasing our collective capacities through professional learning communities. And this concludes our report to the board on the progress of our students on the essential standards and our Smarter Balance assessments. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the board? Mr. Na?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank our curriculum department and mostly our teachers. When I'm on campus, I'm constantly talking to kids, and there's a draw for kids to come to school and learn. And it was mostly about our teachers. So thank you, those teachers who had spent your energy, of last drop of your energy, of loving our children and engaging them. I remember having teachers opening up lunchtime, their classrooms, and helping kids, and even after school in their own time. Appreciate you. Even our special ed director, she just shared with me the great news that one of the child that I had concern with, the parents that we met, was able to graduate with certification from our school district. So this is truly a team project, and we'll continue to work with our parents to make sure that our children are ready in education, in a safe environment, and we're constantly seeking for their promotion for their ability to achieve higher education, ability to learn higher skills that we need, and support our community and our parents in this country. So I think I'm so proud of our school district employees, and again, kudos for our curriculum department for your good leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz?
It's really fantastic. But you know, when you think about it, you got the classroom, you got the teacher has 30 kids, 36 kids each period, first, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is the highly qualified teacher that's really excelling. The culture in Chino and Chino Hills. And on top of it, the parents, the community itself is really doing a great job. But when you really take into account the classroom, it's the teacher's domain, and they're doing an amazing job. You stated we were the top, huh, of all these school districts.
We were the top unified school district in San Bernardino County, and when it came to achievement gains in English language arts and the smallest amount of decrease in math, we came out on top compared to our high-performing benchmark school districts.
Yeah, that is really amazing. Good job for the whole community. That's amazing. Thank you.
Dr. Park, I have a question. I mean, some of the numbers that you put out for some of the districts, I mean, you mentioned some districts that are very reputable districts in Southern California that a lot of people look to, and the decreases you identified are staggering for those districts and shocking, in fact. What do you think sets us apart from the San Bernardino County, other schools in San Bernardino County, as well as those school districts? Like, what do you think made us be able to increase our scores and minimize learning loss?
There's a number of things. We have a lot of family support, community support. We also were able to provide nutrition services to all of our students easily. We had wraparound mental health services that were also available. But in addition to these great things, I alluded to several things that set us apart because they were different than what the other school districts were doing. Our focus on the 10 to 12 essential standards gave us a lot of mileage and also depth. We saw in our presentation today, Dr. Freed showed us that when we concentrate on few and go deeper in that the accidental success was there was a correlation on how the students also performed on the Smarter Balanced Assessment. Along with that, with a strong partnership with our association, 5 years ago, we went to Iowa, and it was with our union support. They said the best type of professional development occurs when teachers come together and they're able to talk about their practices and see what works, what doesn't work, and to be able to learn from each other. And from that visit, we've been able to rejuvenate professional learning communities. And so there's been a strong, rejuvenated attention back to teacher teams working together, focused on student learning. That's a second factor. The third factor that was different for our school district, a different practice that we did compared to any school district in our county, along with our higher performing school districts, is that we provided a universal 30 minutes added to the instructional day, an extended day for all students. It wasn't voluntary. We didn't invite students to attend. All students had the opportunity to get extra time and support with their learning. So while there are many factors, the three specific factors that set us apart because they were different than our county unified school districts and our higher performing school districts, again, come back to focused work on essential standards, professional learning communities, and the additional time and support added to the school day.
Great, thank you, Dr. Park. I just want to thank you and your team. I know many of your team members are also in this room. I want to thank all of you for the work that you did. I also want to thank all of our educators. They did phenomenal work, and this is a testament to that, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did my button go?
Mr. Bridge.
Yep, mine should be on too.
Mr. Schaffer.
I too want to thank you, Dr. Park, for this report, and I'm pleased to see the results, because I know that this board and this district took some flack for adding that 30 minutes when I personally truly felt it was going to help, and I'm glad the results show that. And I do want to thank our staff and our teachers for the job that they did. The last couple of years have not been easy, and to keep us where we're at and actually show some increases compared to other districts, I'm just beyond thrilled that we were able to do that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Schaffer.
Thank you, Dr. Park. I want to thank you not just for this presentation, but for all the work that your group did to get us to where we are with these results. And I would like to thank Dr. Infield and the entire team and our staff for kind of thinking outside the box and putting that 30 minutes of universal time as part of our return program. We did take a lot of flack for that, but go figure, it worked. I mean, I don't think it took a rocket science to figure out that if they're in the classrooms longer, they're going to learn better. So thank you for all of that. And I would like to make sure that I put a thank you out to all of our staff members that helped get us over this hump, over this hump and this hurdle to where we are right now. I think we're in a much better place than several of our surrounding districts. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, you know, it's the human touch that's affecting this. It's the interpersonal skills that the teacher's driving the classroom. That is the key. The key is what's happening in the classroom. Everything else, factors, programs, that's not it. It is the relationship that the teacher has with their students. And we have some beautiful teachers that are doing a great job. And in return, how you guys are coming together, that interpersonal skill, having people feeling worth of their job is so critical. So that is paramount, and that's what's occurring at this district, is there's a connection between humans, the teacher and the child, and the whole system itself. That's the key to all this.
What we're really proud of is with any idea, if you don't have the collaboration, the cooperation, and the excitement from your association friends, any great idea is hard to implement. But we're excited that we were able to partner with everyone. Our teachers are classified, and it was a team effort, which also included our families. Our families had to make huge commitments to have that extended day. So what's great about Chino Valley is that it's a unified effort that at the end, everyone rallied to, again, minimize this loss. And our CIS division is excited that we were able to help lead this work and fortunately also see the fruits of everyone's efforts into our achievement. And again, there's a lot we still need to do, and we're excited about that continued work because we know that with strong and small considered efforts on a very few things that matter, we can get more kids to learn more, and we're excited about that. Thank you.
Mr. Na?
Yes, I would also like to thank our CSA members, our secretaries, our nurses. Might not be directly in the classroom, but having conversation with our kids throughout the day. Encourage them to stay in school, encourage them to focus in their life, and everything comes in a package. Even our sports coaches, I have heard so many good things about coaches, and that had drawn many students into school in learning. One thing that I remember was that this kid was talking about how important that he has to achieve a good grade in order to stay in the team to play. So I think everything had played in a right manner, but I also like to see our school district becoming #1 in the state. And we could do this by these type of achievements, by working together, and truly do what we say when we care for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Thank you, Dr. Park. Our student representative is not here with us this evening, so we will not be hearing comments from the student representative. So we'll move on to item 1E, comments from employee representatives. We'll begin with Brenda Walker, ACT President.
Good evening, President Gagnier, school board members, Superintendent Enfield, district staff, and CVUSD community. I'm here with Stephen Frazier, who is the ACT treasurer. Our ACT members, along with our union brothers and sisters of CSEA, have demonstrated to the community just how committed we are to securing the respect we deserve from CVUSD. We do not only voice our commitment, but we've also stood along with our stakeholders to put action behind it. Please understand that we are not only showing our commitment so that we can be compensated for the work we do, but so that the district understands that our time needs to be respected as well. It's only October, and members are worn out for having before meetings, after school meetings, all the things in between. We have families to take care of. We can't neglect them just for the sake of our jobs. Well, we've already lost staff members because so much has been asked of us. Yes, ACT settled our contract with the district, and we hope to have that tentative agreement ratified by our membership next week, but we need to make it very clear that it's not just about the raise. It's about acknowledging that we play a huge part in the successes that the district earns. Thank you, district, for not taking all the credit for the test scores we hear bragged about. All the kudos for a job well done should be shared. Shared with CSEA, shared with ACT, and the entire stakeholder community. No one group can do it all alone. We all deserve to be elevated. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and have a good evening.
Thank you. We will now hear from Danny Hernandez with CSEA.
Good evening, Board President Schaffer, board members, Superintendent Enfield, Cabinet, and community. First off, I wanted to thank the presentation pamphlet or flyer. Sad to say, we don't always receive this over at the tables, so whoever put it over there, thank you very much. It is appreciated. Like Ms. Walker said, CSA and the district have reached a tentative agreement with the district. We will be voting on it next Tuesday to ratify it and hopefully approve it. But I wanted to thank everyone that was involved in getting us to where we are today. It's usually a thankless role, but it's very much appreciated. October 2nd was Custodian Appreciation Day. They're the unseen heroes of our campuses and our district site. They usually arrive, the first ones to arrive on campus, and are there long after everyone leaves. With this new state mandate, or excuse me, the new state program, California Recycling and Mulching Program, has really been impactful to them. Some of our schools have been piloting this program. We are currently working with the district on different ways to help with this additional workload issue at our school sites. Lastly, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Up until recently, I can say that I don't recall anybody in my immediate family being stricken with this. That was up until recently. It will all hopefully, I don't want to say it that way. Hopefully it never affects you, but this awareness to get checked, not just for breast cancer, any type of cancer. Everybody needs to be aware of it. Nobody likes to go to the doctor, I included in that. But it is always catching it early and making sure that if it is caught, there is processes and procedures to help mitigate some of that. So with it being October and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I just wanted to bring awareness to the community and to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Barbara Bearden, Champ President.
Good evening, President Gagnier, school board members, Dr. Enfield, Cabinet, and Chino Valley community. Earlier this week, CVUSD celebrated Custodian Appreciation Day. I would like to recognize all the district's custodians for the hard work they do at the district office and our school sites. I hope they did feel the love and felt appreciated this week. Next week, we celebrate Bosses Day. We hope Dr. Enfield and the Cabinet know how much we appreciate all of you and everything the district office does to support the school sites. We are incredibly lucky to work in a district where the district office works so hard to support the school sites. Based on tonight's presentation, the work we are all doing in CVUSD is making a difference for our students. Parents, on Monday, October 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m., Don Lugo is hosting a college fair. If your child is a junior or senior in high school, there will be 60 colleges, universities, and military representatives to answer questions about the application process. This is a great opportunity to explore your child's opportunities. Finally, I would like to commend the staff at the Parent Engagement Center. The first Partnership for Learning meeting was appreciated by the participants. I was sad I didn't get to go. Currently, they are working hard to train parents, staff members, and administrators on the school site council requirements. I know it's not easy, so we appreciate all they are doing to help us. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. We now item 1F, comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Mr. Suchura, are there any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
Yes, we have 8 requests to speak with 2 requests from the same speaker.
Okay.
Is one of those requests on the agenda item?
These are all non-agenda.
Speakers will be called in the order the request was received. Please listen for your name and be prepared to approach the podium. Any comments on agenda items will be accepted during consideration of that item. Once the board has commenced deliberations on an issue, speaker cards will not be accepted. The board is very interested in your comments, but please bear in mind the board typically does not respond to comments during this time on the agenda, as it is reserved specifically for public comments. Individual members may respond during board public comments at the end. Additionally, the board does its best to support the public's right to address elected officials. It is also important that the board conduct its business in an orderly and fair fashion, as provided by Board Bylaw 9323. In the event that an unusual amount of speaker cards is submitted for any item, the board will hear up to 30 minutes of comments. In the case of non-agenda items, the board can, if it chooses, hear the remainder of comments after all business has been conducted. Further, this bylaw states in part, individual speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. A speaker may not use the podium for purposes other than addressing the board directly. If there are no further comments, a speaker will be considered to have relinquished his or her allotted 3 minutes. This means that speakers cannot donate their time to another speaker, which in effect can give that speaker more than 3 minutes. The exception is when non-English speakers require a translator. Mr. Na, may you please explain the light system?
Yes, all speakers have 3 minutes to address the board. Yellow light means you have 30 seconds left, and the red light means your time is over. Greg?
The first speaker is Layla Maliki, followed by Amy Davlin Ferreira. And Ms. Ferreira, you will have 3 minutes to speak on both of your items.
Sorry, I don't really know how this works. This is my first time being on the board, so I have 3 minutes, correct?
Correct.
And am I supposed to mention the topic that I'm speaking about, or? Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Sorry. You're good, thank you. So I'm going to be speaking about school safety at Chino High School. So today I turned to my friend quickly to tell her I was hungry, coming from the bathroom from 5th to 6th period. Cutting off my words of complaining was the sound of an alarm, a lockdown. You see, I'm Layla. I'm a freshman at Chino High School. Today, during the fourth period, we rehearsed our sanctioned drills of practicing lockdowns, practices of flicking off the lights and attempting to hide under our desks. My fourth period was coincidentally leadership, and in the day and age where violence and school shootings are prevalent in the U.S., where our state is the second state with the most school shootings and threats, it was taken seriously, and we were lucky enough to have spaces to hide and practice. But today, back to 6th period. My friend and I were both quizzical by hearing that sound, hesitant for a minute with a rewind of what happened in our 4th period class practice. That was immediately stomped with the loud sounds of the 2nd floor booming with footsteps, a stampede of students on the 2nd floor above us. We both assumed the worst, running to our classes and immediately hiding in locked storage rooms only after numerous panics in the classroom. We were all unsure whether it was someone on campus, but turns out it was not. But this leads into the major issues and upbringing of school safety more than it is. Chino High School's remodel consists of huge glass doors and windows, substituting walls in each class, allowing for transparency when walking down the halls and weird looks when heading to the restroom. Luckily, my CSP class has a storage room, but more than half of my classes are storage beds, spaceless with closets almost full, and much more in other classes. What is the point of hiding under desks when there are these glass windows allowing for straight look-throughs into our lives? What is the point of barricading windows when these windows allow clarity into the classroom no matter how many desks you stack? What happens if it isn't a drill and a second of hesitation, a slight whisper, or a walk away, and it's between life and harm? Not just life and harm, but life and harm of our students, teens, and people who have lives ahead of them. Not only that, but after sitting down after the drill, my classmates and I both discussed what went down in 4th period. These peers during the lockdowns were told to continue working, to ignore the drill because it's a lockdown drill. You guys will be safe, and lousy attempts of turning off the light yet continuing to work. This isn't just an issue with safeties, but also about educating students and teachers about the seriousness of safety and what's to actually happen. Words were thrown around, whether it be code blue, which us medical students thought meant that someone had died, but actually meant that the lockdown was lifted. Even in the mention of a lockdown instead of an active shooter drill, we were still unsure. Sorry. AL's training, which no longer works as well with the idea of the glass window panels and more. This also requires, and even though it's unlikely, it could still happen mindset. Yes, Chino High School is extremely well connected with hospitals and police stations nearby, but regardless, this could be a concern to our schools. Even just requesting curtains to block out the windows of some classes, extra education, and more. This is needed more than ever, especially when considering the safety. I still feel the ringing of students down the halls and the fear I first felt when the realization occurred that maybe in this district I may not be as safe.
Thank you.
Amy Davlin Faria, followed by Erica Kelly.
Good evening. Hi. I'm here to address some issues that arose last week at the last board meeting, sorry. As our esteemed and often heard from Mr. Jim Gallagher pointed out, there are sections in the laws and bylaws which govern this board, such as Board Policy 4119 and Education Code 7053 through 7056, which govern such things as political activities conducted during school board meetings and on this property during working hours. His comments initially were directed at Sonia Shaw and others, but he must have been unaware of the fact that on that very same night on this property, this flyer here, this flyer was distributed, which has Ms. Gagnier and Ms. Greathouse running as a political ticket, and was distributed to the teachers and other unionized employees with jackboot thug fervor by the union, who threatened teachers that if they do not vote for these candidates, quote, their lives will never be the same again. Now, the irony of these comments and the timing of them is not lost on us. The fact is that on that night, the reason so many teachers and district employees showed up en masse was to protest their lack of pay and poor employment conditions. So were the words of the union activists really a threat on behalf of Gagnier and Greathouse, of the Gagnier Greathouse ticket, or was it an endorsement for their opposition? Maybe the very fact that their lives will never be the same again is actually a good thing. Maybe change is exactly what this district needs. I know the vast majority of parents here desire a significant change in this district, as this current board does not reflect the values of our community. I hope with all my heart that John Monroe and Sonia Shaw are successful at defeating the leftist activist ticket of Gagnier Greathouse, which is a pro-mandate, pro-lockdown, backed by Planned Parenthood, backed by the multi-million-dollar political pact of teachers unions, and does not represent our values. Even the Greathouse flyer has kids with masks on, which shows you where she will take us if we have another COVID-19 like lockdown. Their ticket puts students and parents last and advances their political ideologies on the backs of our children. And speaking of our children, just because the controversial item was removed from the agenda last time, discussing the district's policy concerning gender confusion and forcing kids to explore their preferred pronouns on campus, does not give any of us confidence that you have in any way had a change of heart on this issue. You merely succumb to the pressure of parents showing up in opposition, and were confronted with the law and our Constitution about forced speech. The fact is, on the first day of school, kids were confronted with a survey about their preferred pronouns, and I have to hurry up now. I've got a lot more to say about this issue, and perhaps I'll have to come back because I won't have a chance to complete it. But the fact is that this Marxist agenda to disrupt, dismantle, and destroy the nuclear family is being executed behind the parents' backs, and this is a subversive measure. When parents enroll their children and they put on the admission slip that they are a specific name or gender, that's final. You do not get to subvert parent rights in that.
Thank you. Hey, relax.
Thank you.
All right? Well, I just said it. Okay?
Erica Kelly, followed by Sonia Shaw, followed by Oscar Avila.
Hold on. Are you finished? No, she's not. Are you finished?
I have a lot more to say.
You have anything else to say?
Under agenda item for Title IX. Under agenda item.
Who's number 3?
Erica Kelly, followed by Sonia Shaw, followed by Oscar Avila.
Good evening, President Gagnier, members of the board, and other representatives. My name is Erica Kelly. I am a language arts instructor at Buena Vista High School in the district. I've been employed by the district for over 14 years, and I'm very happy to be here. When I look at the board logo, I see student achievement, safe schools, and a positive school climate. I support everything that we heard from Dr. Park and Dr. Freed about the recent increases in our SBAC scores as well as the ESSAs. I am a participant in the regular ESSA realignment. We go through, we analyze test results, we look at data. We are constantly trying to make sure that we are doing what we can to service our students. This is what teachers in our district do. This is what we do when we put our time and efforts into it. And as a result of that, this is why our scores have increased. This is why we have student satisfaction surveys that show that they're happy to be at our schools. This is why we see, in comparison to the surrounding districts, high-performing districts, that we have shown negligible drops and actually increases. This is as a result of the efforts of our teachers. Recently, we have a tentative agreement that it appears that it looks like it's going to be ratified, and I'm so happy about that. I've been through multiple contract negotiation, not participating, but being here and seeing what was going on and voting over the past couple of years, so I'm very happy that this one ended and wasn't as contentious as it could have been, but there was contention, and I appreciate all of you for respecting and acknowledging the role of the teacher in contributing to the rise in those scores. We're there every day. We're there before school. We're there after school. We're there making it a safe environment for our students. Why do they succeed? Because they want to be here. We, the teachers, the students, it's a collaborative effort. Thank you for your support at the board level and also with the district office for supporting teachers in their efforts to do what's best for students. I've never felt like the board is doing anything to subvert my efforts or to subvert the needs of our students. In fact, I feel like our student needs are constantly at the forefront. At my school, Buena Vista High School, we are always looking for ways. We're a little small school. We don't get the recognition that the larger schools do, but we want our students to succeed just as much as all the other teachers do at all the other campuses. So please continue to recognize the efforts of our teachers on every campus, and you'll see results like Dr. Park and Dr. Freed presented. Thank you.
Sonia Shaw, followed by Oscar Avila, followed by Jim Gallagher.
Good evening, Dr. Enfield, board members, cabinet, and community members. Do you know who parents, teachers, staff go to with problems? A lot of times they come to me. Why? Because they know that I'll be their voice and I'll call you out on it and hold you accountable. It shouldn't be this way, but you have continuously ignored them and broke the trust. It's been brought to my attention that you are aware of a vendor performing at junior high assemblies that has been speaking about inappropriate topics. This is a grown man who decided to share stories about his sexuality with our children. You know what's truly sad? The fact that only one school site shut him down and said that he's not allowed back. It's awful that no other school site found this incident inappropriate enough to share with parents. Yet now we have parents going back and asking their children dating back all the way to summer, and he used that platform as well. So that is a problem. And I don't understand why we're not transparent with that. Dr. Enfield, I sent you an email about that. I'm still waiting a response. What a mess you guys created. Our current leadership majority is failing our students. Mistakes happen, but for you to hide things from parents is unacceptable. We're tired. We're broken, and we're tired of seeing our children suffer. If you are proud of your behavior, be transparent. Celebrate it. Why are you hiding it? Because you know parents would not approve, yet you allow it anyways. This is not the only thing that should be worried about. We have seen an increase in bullying and harassment in our schools, and I would like to suggest speaking to some of the adults on campus who are an example of this behavior. For example, you have adults refusing to help my child and with her classwork because of their personal feelings of me. I get it. Some of you don't like what I'm doing, but leave the children out of it. I question the leadership when actions like this happen against my daughter. And they're explained with excuses like she came for help after class when help is offered during lunch, only to find out that was fourth period and lunch is fifth period. What about her telling my daughter on the second day of school that she could help her, but she won't, and she will need to catch up on her own and to watch YouTubes without giving her a list of trusted YouTube channels? Yet she helps other students after that, and my daughter saw that. Mind you, that was Brooke's second day on campus. You tell me what's worse, the fact that a teacher told my daughter to figure out the material from searching on YouTube, or the admin that tried to excuse this behavior. Also offering my daughter a special ed class combo on her second day without an evaluation. I don't feel that my child is safe going back to an environment like that, and tonight I'm pulling her from the district until she's safe again. Finally, I'm disheartened by the fact that you place a resolution on the agenda as an information item only and not an action item. It's not easy to learn all the rights of the community members that have part of the governing process. In fact, how often do you see someone other than staff submit anything for the agenda? None that I've seen since I've been coming to these meetings for almost 2 years. Because most of the people feel so defeated by your lack of concern for them, and they once spoke to you and they never heard back to resolve anything, and they give up. I will speak on information for A1 when it comes up to now, but for now I'll say shame on you for actively trying to silence your community.
Oscar Avila, followed by Jim Gallagher, followed by Virginia Renteria.
Good evening, board. I'm a little late. I just got to work. I wanted to see Christina there, but I mean, the acting president of the board isn't here, so I don't know what's going on with that. But a couple of things. I wanted to just. I know one of the items that got tabled that we were kind of concerned about I wasn't too much aware of it, but I think it's something that we have to kind of bring board's attention, see what the board's going to do with that. But one of the stories that came out this week that kind of made me kind of want to come is there was a story out of Vermont where there was a girls' high school volleyball team that was expelled from the locker room because they had a transgender boy or girl. I'm not sure how that works, right? But it was a male that thought or wanted to be referred as a female, and he was in the girls' locker room, and the girl said they was fine if you use the restroom, but when the girls began to get undressed, they felt uncomfortable. So what the school did at that time, they evicted the girls from the locker room. So this for me is personal because I have a daughter that plays high school volleyball. We haven't had any issues at our school yet, but I'm just saying this is something that's coming down the pike, and I want to get a reaction from you guys to see what are we going to do if we start having boys that are male, biological male, and they want to undress in a girls' locker room. I mean, how do we handle that? I have a suggestion. I'm not sure if we're ready for that, but why don't we just do like a single small shower, where they could have a bunk to change and a restroom and all that, instead of having the entire team sit outside or be evicted from the restroom or from the lockers for that individual. So just something that I wanted you to think about as it came to me. But I got a daughter that plays volleyball for the high school. We got a great team. So I would hate for the girls to be hindered or even be affected because of one person. I understand we want to be inclusive, and that's cool. I understand that. I don't have nothing against anybody that decides to live that way, but I don't think their rights trump the rights of the entire team. So thank you for listening to me, and have a good night.
Jim Gallagher, followed by Virginia Renteria, followed by Sharon Duran.
All right. Good evening, President Gagnier, Superintendent Enfield, board members, and also staff and fellow residents. This was going to be short for a non-agenda item, but I think I'm going to add some things now. So I was a little upset the other day. A friend of mine contacted me from Orange County and told me, hey, Chino Hills is in the news. Check it out. And they sent me a link, and it turned out to be Chino Hills High was in the news. This was last week. I found what was most upsetting was that the students were going around to the classroom, doing voter registration, which they should be doing. I think that's a good thing, and apparently had some political discussions during that time. These other students in the class were uncomfortable with it. They contacted their parents. The parents came down, but immediately contacted the media. In my opinion, we shouldn't be doing that. The media shouldn't be contacted over every little classroom event. To me, it seems to be it's between the teacher and the students and the administration of that school. If the media is seen to be standing outside the school with their microphone, and I might add it was very shoddy reporting. I was really surprised at the journalism that I saw in that video. I suggest you watch it. But if they're seen to be standing outside, then I do think administration should go out and intercept and ask them how they can help. So that's just a suggestion. Now the other item that was just addressed here, where my name was brought in, is an example of what I talked about at the last meeting. I do believe that these venues, according to the bylaws, according to all of these statutes, is electioneering should not be going on, especially in the boardroom. I mean, it's nice, it's good to root for your home team, but I think it's a violation of our trust as taxpayers to see that occur. As a taxpayer, I expect this to be apolitical. I mean, I expect us to, of course, discuss issues and argue issues, but not to extol the virtues of one candidate over another. So I do believe tonight those boundaries were overstepped again. What I do not understand is why there is no legal counsel here to stop that. I'm a resident of Chino Hills. When it occurs in the Chino Hills City Council, our legal counsel does stop that type of thing right away. And they remind us of our duty as citizens to keep it open. The politicking should be going on outside, and if it did occur, if there were flyers that the other night that were distributed on this campus, then I agree that was also wrong. It should not occur on the campuses. So I rest my case, and please, no more of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Virginia Renteria, followed by Sharon Duran.
Good morning, parents at home, parents here in the audience. I'm coming today because last meeting we had, I was going to speak on this, but I was just so totally blown away by the teachers that were up here practically, and school employees were practically begging for a pay raise and a decent salary. The article that was written in the Chino Champion was also quite interesting, backing the teachers when we have an election coming up. Quite interesting. Also, what I had wanted to speak on last meeting was that as I drive around Chino Hills in the morning on the way to wherever I'm going, I see parents lining up with their kids. We're all parents, we're grandparents, we're concerned about the safety and welfare of our children. It just breaks my heart that parents are being kept out of the schooling. Our kids, you can basically say our schools are becoming government schools. It's an oxymoron to say, oh, it's okay, you can have ambassadors go into Chino Hills High School and tell kids you got to vote for Biden, you have to vote. But to say, oh no, you can't bring politics. Politics, unfortunately, has hit Chino Hills High School very badly. It's hit our district. We even have the state superintendent coming here to campaign for someone in our school board. Quite interesting, quite interesting. As they say, maybe somebody's a bit nervous. What is being taught in our schools? CRT, SEL. Obviously, history has not been taught very well either when you've got kids in here that will not stand for the American flag. I'll have you know that men have died for that flag. You have no idea. They have died for that flag. Show respect. Love America or leave it. Anyway, and the scores on our school, that I'm glad to hear that, but also take into consideration Chino Hills and Chino, it's a pretty well-to-do neighborhood. Some of us have paid for Kumon because our kids are not getting the proper education, they're lagging. So some of us have paid quite a bit of money to get our kids up to speed with Kumon. Notice the Kumon classes are doing very, very well. Why is that? That's very sad, actually. I do believe that we have some great teachers, but I do believe that we also have some teachers that maybe need to be written up. I was a manager for many years, and if you don't perform according to what I expect, you're on written notice, and then you're gone. Our school board is on the map, and I'm glad to see it. We shall change this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Final speaker, Sharon Duran.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. My name is Sharon Duran, and I would like to start by addressing the speaker that called out the students that are wearing masks in a campaign at it. Those are my two students. They insisted on wearing face masks. I was present and even asked them and encouraged them if they would remove their masks. They insisted on keeping them on. At the same time, in the photo shows the majority not wearing masks. My youngest has respiratory issues and has been hospitalized for low oxygen levels in the past. He takes mask wearing seriously. Ms. Shaw, my student has also been bullied since elementary school by school board members and even last year at high school. Teacher commenting, "Rainbow, you're one of those." It was an autism awareness t-shirt that the teacher assumed was a pride shirt. But even if it was, who cares? It's not their place to make those type of comments. The whole Kumon comment that just came up, I don't know if you know, there's 24/7 online tutoring as of this school year. Parent-teacher conferences just happened. All my kids' teachers were like, if you need extra help, this and that. I don't know any teacher that I've ever emailed, commented, remind app, group me, whatever they have, class dojo. My student doesn't get this. I send a picture of the homework. We don't get this. Okay, we'll work on it. I don't know any teacher that's ever insisted on not helping. So, I do want to end on a positive note. I just came also to thank Ms. Gagnier for attending yesterday a Girl Scout ceremony at the Girl Scout house. We had almost 20 Girl Scouts bridging ceremonies. We couldn't do it when COVID was around. So it was a really special event, and thank you for coming out and sharing that you were also a Girl Scout so they could see community leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now at item 1G, changes and deletions. The following changes, deletions are on the agenda. To facilities, planning, and operations. Item 3D10, page 97, award of bid number 22-23-07F, Eagle Canyon Elementary School alterations. Deleted the bid submitted date of June 28, 2022, and corrected to read as September 13, 2022. We'll now move on to action items. Our first action item this evening is item 2A1, public hearing regarding the sufficiency of instructional materials 2022-2023 and adoption of resolution 2022-2023-16. Recommend the Board of Education conduct a public hearing regarding the sufficiency of instruction materials 2022-2023 and adopt resolution 2022-2023-16. Are there any speakers?
No, there are no speakers.
Seeing as there are no speakers, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Na. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bridge. Is there any comments, questions, or discussion from the board? Seeing no lights and seeing no motions to speak, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5-0-0. The next item is item 2B1, correction of clerical error on resolution 2022-2023-14, California Schools Healthy Air Plumbing and Efficiency Program, CalShape. Recommend the Board of Education approve the correction of clerical error on resolution 2022-2023-14, California Healthy Air Plumbing and Efficiency Program. Are there any speakers?
No speakers.
Seeing no speakers, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Schaffer. Any comments, questions, or discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5-0-0. Moving on to item 2C1, resolution 2022-2023-17, week of the school administrator. Recommend the Board of Education adopt resolution 2022-2023-17, week of the school administrator. Are there any speakers?
No, there are no speakers.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion from Mr. Na and a second from Mr. Cruz. Any comments, questions, or discussion on this resolution? All right, seeing no lights or motions to speak, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries 5-0-0. We are now at consent items. Mr. Chichura, are there any speakers on consent items?
There are 15 speakers on item 4A1.
That's information.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
No speakers on consent items.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any polls? Mr. Schaffer,
No polls.
Mr. Bridge,
No polls.
Mr. Na,
I have no polls.
and Mr. Cruz.
No polls.
I have one poll. It's item 3D2, page 61. Again, that's item 3D2, page 61. So for the remainder of consent items, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Na. Can I have a
Second.
second? Second from Mr. Bridge. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, consent item motion carries 5-0-0. Going back to item 3D2 on page 61. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Na.
Second.
Second from Mr. Bridge. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, I've pulled this item as one of it is a contract with UC Irvine, and I'm an employee at UC Irvine, so I will recuse myself for this vote. So in this item, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? I abstain. Motion carries 4-0-1. We are now at information items. Mr. Chichura, are there any speakers on information items?
There are 15 requests to speak, yes, on
Okay.
item 4A1.
Okay. All right. Let's begin with the first speaker.
First speaker is Max Ibarra, followed by, I'm going to butcher the name, it looks like Scarlett Liu, possibly, and Roe Alexander.
We ensure that all of our students are going first. Thank you.
Can I start? Good evening, everyone. I'm Max, and I'm a trans student in CVUSD, and I'm speaking up about the harm of this resolution. This resolution is blatantly transphobic and a waste of time for our community. The proposed Title IX changes to broaden the definition of sex-based harassment and discrimination will, according to the Department of Education, protect LGBTQ students from discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics. Legally protecting queer and trans students from discrimination is not something anyone should be opposed to. But Sonia Shaw believes otherwise and proposes that CVUSD makes a statement in opposition to the proposed Title IX changes. The main claim of this resolution that needs to be highlighted is that the proposed Title IX changes will perpetuate the false and controversial claim that men can be women and must be treated as such. This language is so clearly denouncing the existence of trans people that I feel disgusted and repulsed that it's made its way onto the agenda. Mind you, the header of the page that this language is on says that the CVUSD motto is positive school climate. I don't know anyone that can think denouncing the existence of trans students produces a positive school climate. Another topic addressed on this resolution is trans women and girls in sports. Unfortunately, there's so much misinformation surrounding this topic that I can't address all points at once. So listen to me on the most important point. Attacking transgender women and girls harms all women, both trans and not trans. This attack on trans women is creating a dangerous pattern of judging girls based on their bodies, looks, and how feminine they are, as if more of this was needed. In Utah, 2 sets of parents, their daughters placing 2nd and 3rd in a high school sports competition, had the first place winner investigated to see if she was trans. She was not trans. The Utah organization in charge of overseeing high school sports has reported a rapidly increasing amount of complaints from parents saying that certain girl athletes are too masculine or too successful. This resolution is asking a school district to encourage this behavior. The time used on this resolution could be used and could be going to school issues students need attention on, like the need for STEM programs, mental health care, sexual assault prevention, etc. Please do not bring this back as an action item to be voted on because the time could be used much more wisely. I'd also like to point out to everyone that California Education Code says that people are allowed to use the facilities and be on sports teams in high school of their gender identity, irrespective of their sex assigned at birth. So if anyone is complaining about how in the future there could possibly be trans people in their locker rooms or in their bathrooms or in their sports teams or in their schools, California law protects us. And if you're mad about that, stay mad. It's not really our problem. So thank you.
Thank you.
Scarlett Liu, followed by Roe Alexander, followed by Layla Maliki.
Hi, I'm Scarlett Liu, and I am a student at Chino Hills High School. For those thinking of interjecting at any time, remember that you had your 3 minutes, so please be so gracious and allow me to have mine. Discrimination of any student should never be tolerated. It shouldn't have to be stated by a student to the board. The opposition to Biden's proposed changes to the definition of the term sex will prevent the protection of trans students from discrimination. The discrimination of being barred from using the bathroom that aligns with their identity. The discrimination of not being allowed to be on the sports team that aligns with who they are. We are wasting precious, limited time on a subject that wants to strip the rights of our students away. Even giving this discriminatory opposition a platform betrays the trust of CVUSD parents. Parents who entrust that their vulnerable children that are their life and the future of America, to be protected from discrimination of any and all types. Enough is enough. Enough sugarcoating. Enough harm to the youth and future of America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roe Alexander, followed by Layla Maliki, followed by Ariel Garcia.
Good evening, board members. My name is Ray, and I'm a student at Chino Hills High School, and today I'm here to urge you not to turn this item into an action item and vote on it. This proposal is openly transphobic and would negatively impact transgender students within the district. If the district publicly disagrees to a change that would help protect LGBTQ+ students, we would be fostering an unsafe environment for all transgender people in our school. On the CVUSD website, your non-discrimination statement states that the Chino Valley Unified School District desires to provide a safe, school environment and allows all students equal access and opportunities. You also add in that non-discrimination statement that you prohibit unlawful discrimination to students based on a multitude of things, included but not limited to sex, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity, and gender expression. The Title IX change from President Biden will help protect LGBTQ+ people in the United States against discrimination. By opposing it, you are ultimately putting the lives and mental health of transgender students at risk and going against your claims in that non-discrimination statement. By showing that you are actively trying to, you're doing this and showing that you are actively trying to invalidate their existence and who they truly are. In the U.S. today, it is estimated that there are nearly 300,000 transgender students in the school system, with 75% of these students feeling unsafe in school due to school systems refusing to respect their gender identity and, in some severe cases, punishing them for expressing that identity. It is because of blatantly transphobic resolutions like the one we are fighting against today that many transgender people feel dehumanized, isolated, and stigmatized. Resolutions like this backlight misled fear and ignorance, disregard transgender safety and mental health for a supposed increase in protection and safety of cisgender students. By trying to fight against pro-LGBTQ+ changes, CVUSD will be actively announcing a complete disregard for trans and queer students who are just like everyone else and deserve to be treated with respect. I could go on about the negative list of effects that this resolution has, but I will not waste my time. Instead, I'm going to talk about what would happen if this resolution was passed. That answer is nothing. California law that has been in place for nearly 8 years will not change just because of a letter from our school district, nor will federal decisions. We will just be labeling ourselves as a transphobic and overall unaccepting school district. All that this resolution does is take time, energy, and resources away from every student's education, going against the value of putting children's education first. Because of this recent pattern of non-education issues being discussed at school board meetings, many high school and middle school students in this district do not see the issues being discussed as something to focus on, but they do have an abundance of ideas to help make our campuses more inclusive, unified, as well as a safe and enjoyable environment for every student who comes to school. This is why I ask you to not vote on this resolution and start implementing more student voices and ideas into the decisions that are being made by you, as it will directly affect every single student enrolled in this district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Layla Maliki, followed by Ariel Garcia, followed by Leah Lynn.
So as you see up there, it says student achievement, safe schools, and positive school climate. CVUSD has had the student achievement, as you've heard. I went over safe schools and now a positive climate. At the bottom of the CVUSD website, clear for all to read, and imprinted in CVUSD mottos and acts, is word for word the follows. The Chino Valley Unified School District is committed to equal opportunity for all individuals in education and employment. District programs, activities, and practices at any district office, school, or school activities shall be free from discrimination, including discriminatory harassment, intimidation, and bullying targeted at any student based on their gender identity, gender orientation, or gender expression. This resolution goes against this firm's CVUSD motto. My name is Layla Maleki, a freshman at Chino's BST program, and as someone who has been in the district for all of my life and has continued to flourish, I'm upset to see these types of public statements denouncing and hurting other students' lives. Title IX, as it is, in summary, protects students regardless of gender against discrimination and harassment. As a cisgender woman who has frequently seen so many students go through so many different hardships, it hurts and pains me to see a safe haven to so many students denounce their own rights. CVUSD offers its motto, Safe Schools. By far, passing the Title IX resolution harms these students who are already fighting a hard fight to be recognized and accepted in the first place. Trans and non-cisgender students would be denounced under this resolution, not allowing equal academic opportunities because of their orientation. I've met a plethora of students, many who are considered passing, and many of them who have already reported gender dysphoria and fear regarding their rights in trans students. Mr. Knott earlier said we do what we say to support our kids. These children are pushing for these rights, so please listen to us. We are there at school 5 days a week for 7 hours. We are there to witness every single event and every daily lifestyle. CVUSD takes pride in keeping a safe space for its students. Please don't take the easy route when it comes to protecting these students and their rights, who have found their place in this district. In the end, schools and this Board of Education are based on these students, these youth, not on parents, so why not listen to us? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ariel Garcia, followed by Leah Lynn, followed by Amy Davlin Faria.
Hi, my name is Ariel Garcia, and in this speech, I want to address the situation of transgender and gender identity equality in schools. Although Chino does have a non-discrimination statement, it was brought to not only my attention, but to others in the school that many teachers do not abide by this and choose to use their own personal beliefs and the argument of legality to reject students the comfort of using their own preferred name or to treat them unequally. As the world is changing and progressing, changing our minds and perspectives have to adapt to this changing environment, especially in our schools. Recently, it was brought to my attention that transgender, non-binary, and other various gender identities that have the change in legal name were being rejected a name in their classroom. As for my personal experience, my friend was denied this by their teacher because of legality. Although the legality does stand in changing a legal name in school in such terms of school records, the question stands in this situation. The teacher is legally correct, but is this in case a lazily response or gender identity and transgender discrimination? In many instances, a teacher, like many in school, can simply just put a post-it note with the student's preferred name and call them that to allow comfortability to that student and proceed with legal work in their legal name. However, in many instances, the response is not laziness, but discrimination caused to bias, intolerance, and chafeism behavior. On the topic of the student situation, I will speak on the topic that was brought to my attention. I asked a student in an interview on their experience at school being a transgender man. My experience at school has been good and bad due to my gender identity. I have had a good support system no matter what, and there are always people who support my identity, even some students who don't fully understand and respect me in class. Some students have gone as far as vouching me for substitute teachers when they don't use my preferred name, even though I had barely spoken to them. Teachers are able to adjust relatively easy to my change in name. Most are good at it, and whereas others may call me Miss despite having a masculine name. I never explained that I was transgender to my teachers. I just asked them to use my name. And if they call me that, don't call me she, I ignore it. To me, the name is all that matters. I asked, how have teachers treated you because of your gender identity? Most teachers have become a support system for me. They understand why I feel the way I do, and they see me as a boy. Some have even had questions of me, and I appreciate so much that they wanted to learn from me. Their understanding and asking questions has strengthened my relationship with my teachers, and honestly, it helps me learn better. When I feel comfortable and safe due to an adult who is willing to protect me from harassment, I'm able to stop thinking of the danger I could be in and just learn. I was assigned I can just do what I came here for school for. Currently, there is only a single teacher that I've had that has refused to accept my gender identity. The name I was assigned at birth, and which is normally referred as a dead name, is used. I am called she and other feminine nicknames. It's honestly humiliating having to sit in a room full of people who know me as a boy and as my preferred name, and all have to look at me as if I have an answer to question why I lied to them. I was told that legally, since I'm a minor, my name has to be changed on school records.
Thank you.
Leah Lynn, followed by Amy Devlin Faria, followed by Agnes Mazur.
Hi, I'm Leah, a student from Chino Hills High. I'm here to ask that when it is your duty to protect and educate American youth, do you really think you have the right to subject them to further discrimination for who they are, or that you have a right to have a say in their gender identity? Let's let children enjoy their all-American rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If a problem arises, it would be best to deal with it on an individual level rather than forcing innocent transgender students to bear the consequences of a hypothetical and improbable situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Devlin Faria, followed by Agnes Mazur, followed by Christy Hurst.
Thank you. I'll just kind of pick up where I left off before, where I was discussing that the fact that the agenda item last board meeting was removed, it doesn't give us any confidence that there's been a change of heart. There was just legal action that was brought where the Constitution and the laws about forced speech were brought to bear. And the fact that on the first day of school, children in our district were given surveys unbeknownst to their parents questioning their gender and pronoun preferences without their parents' knowledge. This is completely unacceptable. Parents still have a right, no matter what the children are saying, listen to us, not our parents. Until they're 18 years old, parents are the autonomous authority over these children. When I, as a parent, enroll my child in school and I complete their admission paperwork, I put their name and their gender, and that is law. That sticks. You don't get to subvert my authority and question my children without my knowledge and ask them, what do you want to be called? We won't tell your children. That's grooming. That's grooming language. I'm sorry. I know groomer is like censored on social media right now. You're not allowed to use that, but pedophiles use grooming. They come across as the trusted adult in your child's life. You can trust us, not your parents. We won't tell your parents. You can create this whole pseudo identity. Your parents never have to know anything. We can talk to Planned Parenthood for you and help you get the trans drugs that you need, the puberty blockers like Lupron that the FDA has had to already put out a warning causes brain tumors and other side effects. We're experimenting on this generation with this trans movement. I have spent extensive time researching the 4,000-fold explosion of trans identity, trans youth in the last 5 years among females, where it used to be 0.01% females, majority males. Now it's among the female youth. I have a heart of compassion for what our trans youth are going through. But as far as subverting the role of the parents among our children, that is not your role. You need to assemble some parents here to create a survey about what the parents think about this issue. It's not your job as the board to vote on this and make this law in our schools. We, the parents, make that decision. We decide what our child is to be called, how you're to refer to our child until they're 18 years old. You don't go and gain their secret trust against us and create this fractured relationship between parent and child, which is just what the Marxist agenda wants. They want a disruption at home. They want kids to not trust their parents. Parents are old. They don't understand what they're talking about. They're not cool. I'm sorry. We are the legal authorities. We pay their bills. We pay their way through college. You don't have a right to break up our home, break up the trust that parents have with our children. Ask us what their gender is. Ask us what they should be called. Save all that political ideology for the cesspool in Sacramento or Washington, D.C., not here in our town. Get the parents together and survey them, find out what they think about this resolution and what they think should happen. It's not transphobic. We're not afraid of anybody. We're not discriminatory. It's simply you don't have the right to go and get our children turned against us. And this is just one step closer to that agenda. And you're taking our kids and giving them puberty blockers without our knowledge, abortions without our knowledge. It has to stop right now.
Agnes Mazur, followed by Christy Hurst, followed by Naomi Minogue.
Good evening, President Gagnier, Board, Superintendent Enfield, Cabinet, and Community. As a parent of daughters in the district, I am adamantly opposed to this resolution. This is yet another example of disinformation and manufactured outrage that should have no place before a school board. First, in terms of disinformation, contrary to what the resolution states, the proposed Title IX revisions will have absolutely no effect on youth sports in California or our district. Since its passage in 2013, California's School Success and Opportunity Act has required that students be permitted to use restroom facilities and play on sports teams that correspond with their gender identities. During these 9 years, girls' sports in both Chino Valley Unified and the state in general have thrived. According to the LA Times editorial board, California has protected the rights of transgender student athletes without major upsets or complaints. I also reached out to several teachers and coaches of girls' sports in our district, and they all confirmed that they have not experienced any issues with transgender student athletes. This resolution manufactures an issue that doesn't exist, and it will not change district policy or California law. But what it does do is harm our transgender students and their families. According to the CDC, an estimated 1.8% of students and only 0.44% of student athletes are transgender. However, according to the studies by the Trevor Project and the Stanford University School of Medicine, between 60 and 80% of middle and high school transgender students have been the victims of bullying. It is appalling that 2 of our board members, and now a board candidate, also single out and stigmatize this tiny group of students. Our board meetings should not be misused to try to score political points at the expense of the mental health and safety of a small minority of particularly vulnerable kids. Instead of trying to exclude certain students, our focus should be on expanding opportunities for all of our students to participate in sports. Parents, teachers, and coaches shared with me that the district does a very good job in supporting and promoting especially high-profile girls' sports. However, some mentioned that our schools could do more to promote lesser-known sports. Doing so could encourage more kids to join teams and gain the physical, social, and psychological benefits that athletics can provide for all young people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy Hurst, followed by Naomi Minogue, followed by Kyle Pennant.
Good evening. I'm a current parent and former district teacher here to request that Resolution 2022-2023 go no further. Effective since January 2014, California Ed Code 221.5 provides that a pupil shall be permitted to participate in sex-segregated school programs, including athletic teams and competitions, irrespective of the gender listed on the pupil's record. For almost a decade, the state has already been doing exactly what this resolution opposes. This resolution has absolutely zero effect on any policies or procedures in the district and is nothing but political theater. It is an attempt by the community member who submitted it to get attention and garner supporters ahead of the upcoming election. She is wasting our district's time, energy, and resources on things that have been settled in the state of California since 2014. Transgender students have been playing sports consistent with their gender identity for nearly 9 years without incident in CVUSD. I want to remind everyone here that it is the duty of board members to follow all California and federal laws and ed codes and mandates. It is outside your authority to do otherwise, and even attempting to do so opens this district up to costly litigation and risks the loss of federal and state funding. I am concerned we have some board members who do not care about keeping our district out of costly lawsuits. Mr. Na, last November you introduced a resolution very similar to the one before us now, and you were warned that if it was adopted, the district would be sued. Still, you and Mr. Cruz both voted to approve that resolution. Mr. Cruz, you even recently said, come November when the board changes, you are going to see a lot of lawsuits. You too have already wasted nearly $300,000 of the district's money on litigation in your pursuit to push your own religious beliefs on this district. I will not sit by while you try to take more away from our children. Finally, I must acknowledge that not only is this resolution discriminatory and hateful, but even placing it on our agenda could be harmful to our LGBTQIA kids. Recent statistics estimate that only 0.44% of high school athletes are transgender. So much hate directed at such a small number of kids. When I think of our LGBTQIA kids reading this resolution, it literally breaks my heart. We are talking about kids. Do you think about that? We are talking about a marginalized and at-risk group of kids. More than 80% of transgender people consider killing themselves, and 40% have attempted suicide. Please let the very, very few trans athletes we have play sports without this nonsense. We know the benefits that sports provides, from physical well-being and social and emotional health. Why would you try to stop anyone facing depression, suicidal ideation, and loneliness from doing something that could help them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Naomi Minogue, followed by Kyle Pennant, followed by Sonia Shah.
Good evening. I am reading this with a lot of pride and honor on behalf of Kira, who is a junior at Chino Hills High School. Chino Hills High School, yes. Good evening, board members and the CVUSD community. My life has been centered around the morals many of you will recognize: humility, civility, and service. If you don't recognize them, these are the core values of our school district, clearly stated in the motto. And when I came across this resolution, I felt that those values were not being honored. I felt fear for the future of our school district, apprehension and worry, but more importantly, anger, which fed my desire to take action. Clearly, Sonia Shah wants to push the evidently false ideas that trans people do not exist. Sonia wants to disregard an entire population of students. As a student who is a passionate ally and one with gender-fluid friends and classmates, it is heartbreaking to me to know that they could be denied access to their rightful public spaces or even denied their own existence. You must know it's a fact that trans people are in our community, in our schools, and more importantly, are 100% valid. Shah saying that the changes will perpetuate the false and controversial claim that men can be women and must be treated as such is malicious. by emphasizing that the safety of female students and athletes being prioritized is just a cover-up. I am disgusted by this action of disguising blatant transphobia over the safety of their children. As a female athlete, competing against trans women is not doing any harm to me or my teammates. She is a female, so let her play sports. Why is another girl a violation of my privacy or safety? That was a rhetorical question, because she isn't. We all have the same intentions, cisgender or not, a desire for belonging and strong determination to improve our skills, beat that rival school, and chase that scholarship. Honestly, the board should not take the time to consider the resolution to be voted upon, because it should be crystal clear that you would want to prevent discrimination at all costs, no matter who the students are. It is very nonsensical for the school board to oppose this change to the Anti-Discrimination Title IX, because for 8 years now in California, single-sex spaces have been open for anyone who identifies as a woman, as it should be. If this resolution was voted on and passed, a part of me would hurt each and every day, feeling for those who know that their school district publicly opposed Title IX changes that would legally protect their simple rights and identities, all because of a random parent in the community. We should be providing a safe environment in schools, which would mean a safe environment for everyone, including transgender students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle Pennant, followed by Sonia Shaw, followed by Oscar Avila.
Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Enfield, President Gagnier, board members, community members. You know, tonight we took the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm a teacher, and I teach ESL for Chapey Community College. And my students learn proudly the Pledge of Allegiance. And we discuss the last part of it frequently. We talk about equality for all, freedom for all, justice for all. I'll say this, all includes everybody. We have a duty to serve our community with humility, civility, and safety. The children in our district who are at the highest risk of self-harm and suicide are transgender children. It's not for me or you to question why or how they are transgender. They just are. They are who they are. I think we're challenged to accept and practice that every day. One thing we should not do as a community, in my opinion, is send a message of one voice through a letter or a resolution to the President of the United States stating that we are all of the same opinion on this. I don't think we are. I don't think we are at all. I am a straight, white, male Christian, and I oppose sending that resolution because I think it's discriminatory. I think it's wrong. We have some children tonight who did not stand during the Pledge of Allegiance, which pains me a bit. But they live in, I think, a great country of democracy, and they have that right. It's a simple right. It's a right of protest. You know what they're trying to say? I too am all, and you're not including me as all, and so I'm going to sit here and protest that. All right? Look, we have laws that govern us. Title IX, federal law. We have Prop 209 here in California, which says we may not discriminate in favor nor against certain groups of people, and that includes these children. We have the Ed Code, and we need to follow the Ed Code. And that includes when it comes to campaigning as well. Because I think people are looking at us as examples. They're behind me right now. They're future leaders. They're the children who are in this district. And you know what? We need to be good examples. I'm going to ask you to not send that letter because it does not represent all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sonia Shaw, followed by Oscar Avila, followed by Jim Gallagher.
First of all, it's embarrassing that you're making this about being transphobic. It has nothing to do with being transphobic. Just because California law is making policies based on ideologies and not science, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it okay. So let me ask you, are our females, they don't have rights? They don't have rights? Their health, their mental health that doesn't matter? What about their safety? What about a boy hurting them on a field, a biological boy? What about their safety? Where's their right? Where's your concern for them? Several weeks ago, I requested this resolution for board action regarding Title IX revisions. I was told that my request would be on the October 6th agenda. I couldn't believe what I saw when I read that it was placed on the agenda as an information item. That means no action would be taken. Why are you guys so afraid to vote on it? Christina, are you afraid to be put on record that you support the boys in the girls' locker room? Because I could tell you, walking these neighborhoods, the majority of people living in Chino Valley, they don't want boys in locker room, and they had no idea that was even a law, okay? So there was no further explanation, no courtesy conversation for better understanding. I was told that it was just when I reached out to Dr. Enfield that you and him decided to put it as an information and not an action item. Why are you so afraid to be put on record for this? I'm not afraid to stand up here and protect our female athletes. I'm taking a beating. And you know why our female athletes don't say anything? Because you guys will bully and pick on them, okay? That is true. I have female athletes. They're not okay with a male playing on their team, and they're not okay with a male taking and shattering their dreams and their scholarships that they earned. And I'm sorry, I will stand here and protect and try to protect them until you guys beat me to the pulp. I don't care. I will protect our females. On this very same agenda on page 14, this very same agenda on page 14, specifically, a resolution captures board actions such as approvals, authority, and directives. That's also another resolution item that was on the board earlier that you voted on. But yet mine wasn't put on there. The district has a practice of placing resolutions on the agenda under action or consent, and that's exactly why I requested this resolution item. I'm not afraid to hide what I stand for. Yet somehow it was decided to forget about district practice, set it aside, essentially sabotaging the opportunity for the board and the community discussion and to have an engagement and a vote and have a conversation and listen to all sides. This has nothing to do with hating trans children. That's gross. I don't hate children, so stop saying that and spewing your lies. That's sad, okay? I would go on about the hypocrisy and the games that you guys all play, but I'll leave you with the final comment. To sabotage is to deliberately destroy, Shawism, to damage or obstruct something, especially for political or military advantage. What's the advantage of stifling discussions on Title IX at this point, may one ask? I would say November 8th plays a big part on it. Why don't you let people know where you stand, Christina?
Thank you. Really briefly, we're at the 30 minutes. Can I get consent to complete the comments?
Yes.
How many more speakers are there?
We have 3.
Just consensus?
All of our students have spoken?
Yes, they have.
I give consensus.
I give consensus.
I get consensus.
Okay. Proceed. Thank you.
Next speaker is Oscar Avila, followed by Jim Gallagher, followed by Cara D'Amato.
Wow, this got pretty intense. I had no idea that they were gonna have all the kids here, but just for the record, nobody hates trans kids or whatever. I have a nephew. He just graduated from San Diego Medical School. He's a doctor. He's homosexual. I love him. He's gonna probably maybe do surgery on me one day. He's a smart kid. I love him. Nothing against that, but coming to this meeting today, I just realized that today's an anniversary. A year ago, a boy got arrested in Lewis County, Virginia, for assaulting 2 girls. And what happened is he attacked a girl in the girls' locker room, and then the superintendent covered it up and transferred him. I know you would never do that, but he covered it up and he transferred him to another high school, and never once saying nothing to anybody, or no parents, and never called the police. The kid did it again and got arrested, right? So just this past year, he got found guilty. 15-year-old got found guilty of sexual assault. He penetrated the girl, right? And now he's a registered sex offender for his whole life. So his whole life is ruined because he was allowed to go into the restroom, and for whatever reason, he did that. And I'm not saying that every boy that does that will do that, but what I'm saying is you have to consider the safety of the girls. Like I said earlier, I have a daughter that plays volleyball, and there was an issue that happened just this week or last week, where the whole team had to be out of the locker room because of this boy undressing in there, and the girls got in trouble for not wanting to be in there. So how does that make sense in the world where you got the whole team punished for one kid, right? I understand, you want to, be inclusive and all that. That's good, but there's got to be a better way to do that. You can't force girls to undress with boys or boys with girls, vice versa. So all I'm saying is our job here is to educate, but first of all, have our kids be safe. We talked about how during the extra 30 minutes of learning that our school did pretty good. I'm glad. I love Chino. That's why I'm here. I came from a very old school, and I hope they're doing better. But I brought my family here for this reason because I know Chino's a good school. I've heard about Chino. I wanted to come for years, and they said, you can't go to Chino. You can't live there. I said, I want to live in Chino one day, and I came, and I've been here almost 20 years. I love this city, but I love it because it's a good city, and we always expect the best from the community, right, and from our students. So yeah, we did great, right? But maybe we could have done better, done better. So I want our school to be safe, to be a place where our kids could excel, and think about doing something to implement these changes. We're going to write a letter and say half of the city doesn't like it, or put my name, I don't like it. But what I'm saying is we got to think about the kids and protect them, and not just change society for the sake of just a few. We love the few, but think of everybody in between. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Gallagher.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm taking a slightly different track on this. The Title IX is part of the 14th Amendment. It's almost sacred, I think, to this country. It was ratified in 1868, and the courts applied the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause to many aspects of public life over the years. Title IX is the interpretation of that. And I think we need to look at the basics of what Title IX is about. It was signed into law on June 23rd, 1972 by President Nixon. Under the legislative branch, they authorize any federal agency to issue regulations to enforce the prohibition of sex discrimination. It also allows the termination of financial assistance when an institution such as yours does not voluntarily comply. Under the judicial branch, Title IX's non-discrimination and compliance requirements apply to any educational institution that receives federal financial assistance through grants provided directly to its students. So, of course, as an institution, you must follow that. That's federal law. So according to the Office of Civil Rights, every school must have and distribute a policy against sex discrimination, which you do have on your website. Every school must have a Title IX coordinator. Every school must have and make known procedures for students to file complaints of sexual discrimination. Now, on the issue of transgender and LGBTQ+, between 2010 and 2016, the U.S. Department of Education issued some very good guidance that explained that transgender students are protected from sex-based discrimination under Title IX. So how do you carry that out? That's very important. This is something that you have to listen to. This bars schools that receive any financial assistance from sex-based discrimination in education programs and activities, which include sports. It instructs public schools to treat transgender students consistent with their gender identity in academic life. A student who identifies as a transgender boy, for instance, is allowed entry to a boys-only class. A student who identifies as a female is allowed entrance into a female-only class, regardless of what their birth gender is. Now, this current administration has clearly stated that they're committed to advancing protections for transgender athletes. I think this is where some of the problem is. People worry about males in female sports overcoming them. The IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has been trying to deal with this issue as well, and they've come up with some very interesting findings. They found out, let me get to my notes real fast here. They offer guidance to international federations all over the world on how to design eligibility criteria that work for their own sports and their own context.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The final speaker, Cara Diamato.
Good evening, board and staff members. My name is Cara D'Amato, and I'm here to read a letter from someone else. But Mr. Cruz, as I teach my TK students, eyes should be watching, ears listening. close your laptop, please, and pay attention to the speakers. It's really disrespectful the way you sit up there. I'm reading this letter on behalf of a CVUSD parent named Ashley Kennedy. 51% of the population of the United States are female. Even though females are the majority, they still hold minority positions to males. For years, women have been treated as the lesser of the two sexes. Great strides have been made in the past, and they continue to be made, but members of this board would like to stand in the way and even reverse the tide of women. Title IX was enacted in June of 1972. Title IX allows females to finally make some gains within sports, but yet again was not accepted by some who still relinquished females to a lesser role. What Title IX gave females was fabulous, but it should have gone further. Most coaching positions are still given to males, even when young females are being coached, and definitely need to see stronger female role models in that position. Male coaches are getting the positions because they are able to show more experience, even though their experiences come because they have more opportunities. An example of this is a female football coach. Recently, a female was given an NFL coaching position where she excelled immensely. More members of the board are trying to enact a ruling that will take away a lot of these benefits of Title IX, hinder any type of opportunity for students, yes, female students, from playing sports when they are possibly pregnant, and even take away opportunities for our trans youth to compete in sports. I'm tired of the disrespect from members of this board when they try to push their values onto everyone else. This is a free country, and I am proud to be American. Being an American means that we have the right to express ourselves in a manner that we feel positive about. We are Americans, and we have the right to be free and live our lives the way we would like without members of this board trying to espouse their right-wing values on us. Signed, Ashley Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, are there any comments or questions? Mr. Na? Any comments or questions? Sorry. Okay, seeing no. Do you have
Okay, I have a comment. Since you mentioned, Dr. Enfield, I just wanted to make clear to the public and suggestion that was brought in by Mrs. Sonia Shah, that we have not, in practice, placed resolution requests in information items. I just like to have the facts to that, and I would like to go last couple years if we have placed resolutions in which department, whether it was an information item or a consent item or directly to an action item. So I'd like to see that as soon as possible. I just like to have this muddy water going clear. That'll be my comment.
Dr. Enfield?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cruz?
Yeah, Dr. Enfield, can you please clarify who decided to make this as an informational, Ms. Shaw's resolution?
It was our determination in setting up the agenda and looking at other items that have come to here. We've placed them on as information items.
Okay. You know, we never placed a resolution under, under information because a vote was needed by the board. Clearly, this was a subject matter of the board. And, this stifles a discussion, just by receiving it. It's difficult to discuss it. The concerns that
Mr. Cruz, I just want to warn the board, this is not those may be
okay.
comments you want to use as your comment, because this is information, it's not a discussion item.
Okay then, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on from information items, and we'll move on to board member communications. Mr. Schaffer.
No comments.
Mr. Bridge.
Yes, I have a few comments, and very, very positive ones. I have a lot of congratulations to offer tonight. First of all, to former Chino High coaches John Munger in football, Joe Murillo in basketball, and Bob Sheehan in baseball for their induction next week into the CIF Hall of Fame. To have all three enter at the same time is quite an achievement for any district, much less one high school. Also, if you had a chance last night on the Channel 9 News at 10 o'clock, their 10:45 sports report had an interview with all three of them, and it was quite impressive to see that, and quite a good thing for our district. I also want to congratulate Chino Hills High seniors Joseph Bailey and Esther Kim, along with Ayala High senior Ruby Kamal, on being semifinalists in the National Merit Scholarship Program. That's quite an honor, as they joined 16,000 other seniors out of more than 1.5 million students competing for 8,000 post-secondary scholarships. So I want to wish them a lot of luck, but it's quite an honor just to get to this point as a semifinalist. Also, continuing on with the congratulations go out to Spencer Schuler, Ayala High School, for receiving the 2022 CIF Champion for Character Award, given to those athletes who demonstrate the program's 6 pillars of character, which are trustworthiness, responsibility, respect, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Next, congratulations to the girls state delegates for 2022, Natalia Gonzalez from Don Lugo High School, Katrina Wynn from Chino High School, and Julie, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name, Haile Ayala High School. Boys state delegates for 2022 include Rafael Gomez from Don Lugo, Daniel Mora and Dominic Gonzalez, Chino High, Jeff Fassbinder, Chino Hills High, and Daniel Sintang Gang, Ayala High. This coming Monday, as you heard from Barbara Bearden during her champ remarks, Don Lugo High School is hosting the district college fair in the gymnasium from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It is something that is worthwhile if you or your child is looking at post-secondary education, to be able to go in and have access to that many colleges at once. It's a great thing to go to. You can actually talk to people, and you can get so much off the internet, but actually going and talking to people, and once you decide, going and visiting campuses makes all the difference in the world. I can tell you that from a parent standpoint, that my son thought he wanted to go to certain campuses. We walked him, didn't like them, found the one he did like by going and visiting it. So anything you can do as research that's off the internet, I certainly encourage that. This Saturday, I'm losing my voice. Ayala High School is hosting its Music in Motion band tournament. 21 bands will be competing in 5 different divisions over the afternoon and evening, and I strongly encourage, if you are not going to the Chino Hills Wine Walk or have other things, it's a worthwhile event, and we encourage attendance to that. Lastly, I also attended the Don Lugo football game last Friday, and it was good to see community support for that. And finally, we heard CSEA President Danny Hernandez mention that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I certainly want to encourage support for that as well, having lost my mother 30 years ago to that disease. When she discovered a lump, thought it was no big deal at that time, didn't go get it checked until it was too late, and lasted 5.5 years with chemo. So I encourage everyone to support that cause and get checked if necessary. And with that, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Thank you. You know, placing Shaw's resolution under informational was not right. You know, stifling the discussion and just receiving it without, having a dialogue about this. You know, the concern that Ms. Shaw raised tonight are very concerning. How can this board in good conscience remain silent when issues of parental concern are brought forward for discussion and are deliberately buried through an interpretation or manipulation of board policy? Ms. Shaw brought forward her concern in good conscience to have an open discussion and explore understandings. I want to tell you that the manipulation of the board policy to avoid discussion and a vote on an issue that impacts us all is shameful. We missed another opportunity, again, to engage the community in a conversation to inform, educate, and critical think. Like Ms. Shaw, I asked myself, why was this a great opportunity not taken? whatever the reason, nothing can ever be good enough to intentionally exclude parents from conversation. Deepening the divide by shutting down a dialogue is something. You know, finding out that the state superintendent is going to come on Saturday, I just want to make a comment. You know, local representatives who are supposed to be the voices for parents and guardians, especially related to public education. You know, it's more important than ever to our community that we become informed on the position of candidates in the upcoming elections. I want to encourage everyone to take advantage of opportunities to question candidates regarding their positions on highly controversial issues. Being pushed in the classroom. Apparently, Tony Thurman, State Superintendent of Instruction, will be working the local community this Saturday. Now is the time for parents who are fired up over school safety measures, social curriculum, and the erosion of parental rights to ask candidates where their positions fall. Remember, we need to know if these candidates are for parental rights or against parental rights. What is the end game? Our community, not an outsider. We need control back for our community, not Sacramento. And then I just want to say something that's very exciting, and I'm very excited about this. I'm hearing that many school district employees in surrounding school districts will be getting bigger paychecks with double-digit pay increases. Kudos to employees for knowing their worth in their jobs of working with K through 12 students that can be challenging, especially in light of the devastating effect of COVID school closures had on student achievement and well-being. Kudos to union leaders who stood firm and negotiated double-digit pay increases throughout the Inland Empire and Riverside. Kudos to those district leaders and boards of education for acknowledging the worth of employees. I can't think of a better way to say thank you to those serving in public education. And finally, I received a letter, and her name is Tammy. Please email me so we can, I could assist you in supporting what you need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Na.
I was able to attend a special dance event at Don Lugo High School. It was with our special ed population students. I always have enjoyed their dances because those are dances I could attend and be relaxed. I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to worry about parent complaints and student complaints during the dances. It was just plain fun. The theme was about being a cowboys and cowgirls. There, I met and was able to talk to a special ed teacher that I have known her for many, many years. And she said, Mr. Na, we're working this overtime. Did you know that? I said, yes, I do. And she said, yes, when is my contract going to be signed? And she says, I've been here for more than 15 years and I need to be respected. I could have been working for other districts with higher pay, but I love my children. And I told her, I thank you, I appreciate you. And she said, could you please pray that we could come with a good agreement that has respect for our employees? I said, of course I would. So I give her a promise and support. The parents were really happy that their children were cared for and treated freely and equally well. Looking at tonight's information item, I expect this information item usually in practice would come into an information item, would go into an action item. And as someone had mentioned, this is a free country. Our job is to to look at the both pro and con of any subject matters, and we get to vote. That is our job. That is why we were elected in November elections, to vote in representing our constituents. So I expect this item to be shown as an action item so that will be voted in the public and will be discussed with nothing hidden. So that will be my promise to you. I'd like to thank our custodians in school sites. They work overtime, and sometimes I really wanted to help them, and I do sometimes because I see them as my neighbors and my family members. So thank you for your hard work, especially after big games and big events. I see lots of trash, and if we could be mindful, especially our young people, again, please help our staff members that are working really hard for you, like your own parents, and give them the rightful respect. Again, I'm really grateful that our teachers and CSO members will have a Merry Christmas with the right respect they deserve end of this year, so that our district could continue to grow and serve all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Na. Dr. Enfield. I have one brief comment. First of all, apologies for leaving the meeting earlier. I'm a little under the weather, but I apologize for leaving during public comment. Just one quick announcement for the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. We're having a breakfast with Congresswoman Young Kim at Los Serranos Country Club this coming Tuesday morning from 8 to 10. It's a really good opportunity for people to liaise with our member of Congress, or one of our members of Congress, I should say, and ask questions about the local business community. And with that, I adjourn the meeting at 8:06 p.m.